All right, welcome back, everybody, to the 11th episode of the Triple D's podcast. I'm Devin. I'm here with David once again. And today we're going to be recapping all of the Week 1 action in the NFL. It was quite a chaotic week, some upsets, some blowouts, all that. Some really good games. I enjoyed this first opening week. And then we're going to get into our Week 2 predictions as well, with Thursday Night Football coming up today as the day that this is being uploaded. So, David, what did you think of the Week 1 games? Like, did you think it was a good opener or what?
All right, yeah. In terms of the Week 1 games, I think like the first couple of slate, like the 1 p.m. Eastern time games, were like a little bit overrated. But overall, I think it was a good way to start the season. You know, obviously, the Chiefs versus Lions game, I liked that game even though it wasn't that high scoring. So overall, I liked it. What about you?
Yeah, I liked it too. There was a lot of action. I didn't like the Sunday Night Football game. Obviously, we'll get into all the games, and obviously, we saw the disaster that struck on Monday night. We'll get into that as well. But overall, all the Sunday games, I really enjoyed them. So yeah, I'm super happy that football's back for sure, man. So if we can just get straight into it, then we'll just start. We'll go in order of the time slot games. So we'll start with all the 1 p.m. games, and the first game I have is one of the upsets, which is the Browns beating the Bengals 24-3. I won't lie, I didn't watch the full thing of this game, but I do know that the Browns defense shut down Joe Burrow completely. Joe Burrow had 82 passing yards, a career low, and I think that could be the only time in his entire career that he goes under 100 passing yards for like the rest of the games he plays during his career. That was insane. You know, the Browns, they hired Jim Schwartz as their defensive coordinator during the offseason, and as you can see, what a way to start the season. I mean, and then Deshaun Watson had some bad moments. He threw that really bad interception, but he also had a rushing touchdown, and he threw for another touchdown. So overall, really good game from the Browns, but I don't think it's much to panic against the Bengals. As we all know, the Browns own the Bengals. They've won the past, I don't even know, 5 or so games against them. So let me know what you saw in that game that caused the Browns to upset the Bengals this big.
Yeah, I saw a decent amount of the game. And I was like, the Browns really stunned me because they defeat the Bengals, like a great team, but obviously they've played them pretty well their past couple of matchups, but just blowing them out. And I was surprised by Deshaun Watson. He played a lot better than what he played how he played last year. And I don't think Joe Burrow will have a game like that again. You never know. But after making him the highest paid player in all the league and all of its history. It's definitely very disappointing for a Week 1 loss. And, I wasn't surprised that the Bengals, lost to a team like the Browns Week 1 because, last year they lost to a Steelers team, and it was a weird game. It was just, miss kick after miss kick. And, I think the Bengals are going to bounce back. Jamar Chase didn't look good after the game in the post-game interview, calling them elves and then mad that they just lost to them elves. That was a bad look for him, but I think the Bengals are going to rebound. And for the Browns, I mean, they'll only go up from here. I mean, beating the Bengals Week 1, that's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, for sure. That's a perfect self-esteem boost for them. And then for the Bengals defense, that's one thing I didn't like. I didn't like how they played. Obviously, they let the Browns score almost every single possession, put up 24 points on them. And then Joe Burrow wasn't able to find anyone. T. Higgins didn't have a single catch on the game. The running game couldn't get going. Just a masterclass from the Browns defense. So a much-deserved win for them. And the Bengals, they started 0-2 last year, so we'll see how they bounce back from this and see if they can get a Week 2 win against the Ravens, I believe. So moving on from that, the next game I have is another kind of blowout win. We have the Ravens beating the Texans 25-9. Ravens were missing Mark Andrews, C.J. Stroud with his career debut. Let me know what you saw from this game that led the Ravens to shut down the Texans and C.J. Stroud in his first game like this.
Yeah, so their defense, obviously, against the rookie quarterback, played pretty well. And from their offense, Zay Flowers showed that he can be a number 1 receiver. I'm pretty sure Odell didn't really get many looks at all, just a couple of receptions. But I think, as the season goes, he'll get more and more, maybe not with Zay Flowers, but he'll definitely get a bit more receptions. And, yeah, I think that, this was expected. The Texans are a young team. First-year head coach, so not too many surprises when it comes to that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zay Flowers has already solidified himself as this wide receiver 1. While I do expect him to obviously take that back seat to Mark Andrews once he comes back, likely this upcoming week, I think Zay Flowers is definitely going to be Lamar's number 1. Odell, as you said, didn't do much, but I think at this point now they realize that they didn't sign him to be the wide receiver one. I think Zay Flowers is going to keep that throughout his rookie season, and obviously we knew he wasn't going to be the number one target since Mark Andrews is still in town. But Odell, obviously, really good to see him back on the field and to see him playing, get a reception or two. Rashad Bateman also looked to be ahead of Odell Beckham, so that was an interesting storyline there going on there. But Lamar played a really good game. He had some of his runs, and he was throwing pretty nice. I didn't really see much to talk bad about him or really much that excelled. They did lose J.K. Dobbins. He tore his Achilles, and J.K. Dobbins will miss the rest of the season. I just want to talk about how unlucky that guy's career is. I've seen comparisons to like Chris Carson, but I think he might be number one in the past like 10 years, like most unlucky injury player ever. Like he's coming off of torn ACLs, torn MCLs, like broken legs. Like literally he's had devastating season-ending injuries the past 3 years of his career, and here he is, and this one might be the one that does it all with the torn Achilles. So that really sucks for them because I do like J.K. Dobbins. I do think pre-injuries he had a lot of speed on him and he was a really good back, but now the Ravens turn back to Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and just a really mediocre backfield. So sucks for them to lose J.K. Dobbins, and because he was having a good game as well. And then on the Texans side, C.J. Stroud, I mean, he showed some flashes, but he didn't really do much what you would want to see, but there wasn't really high expectations in the first game. Aside from also the fact that like his offensive line is horrible, I feel like that's going to be an issue throughout the whole season that I don't really see if they can improve on. Damian Pierce didn't have the best game, but then Nico Collins really solidifies himself as the wide receiver one in that offense. CJ Stroud really looked his way a lot, and then Robert Woods as well. They both were leading the team in targets, and then Tank Dell got in there, caught 3 or 4 passes as well. So good to see those guys getting involved, and good to see actual decent receiving room in Houston. So next game that I have is one of the biggest upsets, but in my opinion, I actually had this team winning coming into the week. The Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield coming out week 1 and beating the Minnesota Vikings 20-17. Low scoring game. Both teams had some nice plays, but overall the Buccaneers came out with a gritty win in the end. I really liked what I saw from Baker Mayfield. I really thought he had a great game. I'll always preach this. I don't think Baker Mayfield has ever been bad. I think he's just killed himself with his injuries. And although it is his fault, he's literally just played through every single injury throughout his entire career. And obviously it hasn't bode him well, as now he's on his 4th team in the last 3 years. So, but he played really good. He hit Trey Palmer for a touchdown. He found Mike Evans in the end zone for a touchdown. You love to see that connection, especially with all the contract extension dispute going on with Mike Evans and the Buccaneers right now. Very mediocre running game. Rachaad White, I kind of have high hopes for him. I feel like he was a really good prospect last year in his rookie season, taking the RB1 spot from Leonard Fournette later into the season. But he didn't really play good. But that offensive line, aside from Tristan Wirfs, isn't that good. And then the defense, the defense did pretty good. The Vikings have a really explosive offense, obviously, with all their weapons and Kirk Cousins at the helm. So they did a pretty good job locking them down to only 17 points. Jordan Addison had a nice touchdown. I think Jordan Addison's really going to fit well. I think he's going to be better this season already in his rookie year than Adam Thielen was last season, and how he played in that wide receiver 2 role. And I think he's already taken up KJ Osborne for that wide receiver 2. TJ Hawkinson was involved. Obviously, Justin Jefferson had a really nice day, despite, I believe, not scoring a touchdown. And then, once again, Alexander Mattison. I feel like the Vikings and the Buccaneers might have the bottom 2 worst run games in the league. These guys just aren't, I've always liked Alexander Mattison. He always has a good game when Dalvin Cook comes out, but he just didn't play that good at all. And then what I've been preaching all offseason, the Vikings are not going to win the division. Chance they not make the playoffs because of their defense. Their defense is horrendous. Brian Flores cannot change it. It's going to be an issue all season long unless they make some blockbuster trade near the deadline or something, because they really see that they have to improve their defense. I really don't see this change throughout the whole year, and it's going to be the downfall of the Vikings. And it's shown in this week 1 game against the mediocre offense in Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I agree. The Bucks surprised a lot of people. A lot of people were thinking that they would be like a bottom of the league type team, just because Baker Mayfield. They had like a QB competition, one of the worst in the league. Baker Mayfield ends up winning it. I don't know. Potentially, this could be like a redemption arc for him, or it's just like that cycle of he plays well, gets a commercial, plays bad, and then hopes again. But the Vikings, I'm not too surprised that they lost, just because they always have a couple of games every year that they probably should have won and are probably better than the opponent. But yeah, I mean they're a fluky team. Probably might not win the division, but I think they'll make playoffs. But that's for a different day.
Yeah, after this game, I could totally see the Buccaneers winning the division, winning up to 8 games probably on the year. I mean, I don't want to say have any overreactions, but I mean, this offense wasn't expected to be like the worst in the league at the beginning of the year. They still got Mike Evans, they still got a good offensive line. Chris Godwin's still there, and Baker Mayfield isn't the worst quarterback in the league. He's manageable if he can have good games, but his bad games are bad. But a really good win for Tampa Bay. A lot of momentum now coming into week 2. Good for Todd Bowles as well to get to start off the season 1-0. So next game I have is the battle between two quarterbacks making their full-time starting debut. One being first overall pick Bryce Young, and the other being Desmond Ridder. The Falcons took down the Panthers 24-10. A bit of a low-scoring game. Bryce Young did not play good. He threw 2 interceptions and only 1 touchdown, and he couldn't lead the offense down the field. Obviously, there's going to be some growing pains for this team, I feel like. Miles Sanders didn't seem to fit in too well, and obviously DJ Chark was out, and I mean, one of the issues we've been talking about all offseason, the Panthers don't seem to have an established wide receiver 1. I think Hayden Hurst led the team in targets and had the lone touchdown, so I mean, that's not really a great look for your rookie quarterback. He did have good protection, which I was expecting, but I'm pretty sure I saw that 2 of the Panthers' offensive linemen got put on IR, so it's really bad for them. But for the Falcons, pretty much what I expected in terms of them being the most run-heavy offense in the league. They showed, because Cordero Patterson was out, they showed that Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier can be one of the best 1-2 punches in the league. Because people forget that Tyler Algier is really good. It was strange that they drafted Bijan Robinson so high, even though how good he is, just because of Tyler Algier. Bijan Robinson had that crazy touchdown where he juked out a guy and then bounces off defenders to get them on the board. And then Tyler Algier had 2 rushing touchdowns in the red zone. That's kind of concerning for Bijan Robinson if Tyler Algier is getting the red zone carries, as you would want Bijan to be that guy. But Bijan he's used in the slot, he's used in the backfield, he's running routes more often than he's getting carries. And Tyler Algier is more that ground and pound guy, although he did also have some targets. So Desmond Ridder only attempted, I think, like under 20 passes or so. So obviously run heavy team, and it worked against this Panthers defense that's kind of weak. And then also J.C. Horn has a really bad injury that will require surgery, and he could be out for the majority of the season. Horrible loss for the Panthers, just a horrible week for them. That your number 1 overall pick doesn't show flashes, your O-line gets hurt, and then your number 1 corner, underrated corner, J.C. Horn, is out for the foreseeable future. So really bad game for them, but a good win for the Falcons.
Yeah, I wasn't too surprised with how the Panthers played. They have a young quarterback. Their O-line, is getting beaten up already after week 1, and their defense is very mediocre without J.C. Horn. And the Falcons, I liked what they did. It was kind of what I expected. Pretty run heavy with Bijan and Tyler Algier. But man, they need to get the ball. Like Desmond Ridder needs to get the ball to Kyle Pitts, because I saw like 2 or 3 clips where Kyle Pitts was just cooking defenders, and Desmond Ridder wasn't even looking at his side. And I know that they don't have the best O line, but at the same time, man, like it's not. It can't be that hard to include Kyle Pitts in the pass game. Especially like what they're throwing under 20 times. Like you got to get him involved, and they could have done so much more damage. But
yeah, Arthur Smith just hates Kyle Pitts for who knows why. He's the most talented, probably athletic-wise, tight end in the league. Drake London, speaking on that note, also didn't have a single catch the whole game. So literally, the running backs were the entire game. They led the team in receptions, both Algier and Robinson, and obviously in rushes. So interesting for them. But and then you were talking about their O-line not being good. I'm pretty sure they cater their O-line towards their run game. Like they get all the good run. They have Chris Lindstrom, who's been an All-Pro during his career, known for his run blocking. So they just set up for a run, and it seems to work. They don't have Mariota. Ridder isn't as mobile, I don't think. I think he's a pretty mobile quarterback, but Desmond Ridder didn't show too many flashes, but he didn't need to get it done against this mediocre Panthers defense. So moving on to the next game, one that was a bit closer than I expected. In Washington, the Cardinals were unable to take down the Commanders as the Commanders won 20-16. A bit of a defensive game. Neither team really played good offense at all. Sam Howell had one rushing touchdown, but otherwise couldn't move the ball. And then obviously Arizona, Josh Dobbs is just not the greatest quarterback. Like, you just can't not admit that. But they both had defensive touchdowns, so that was really interesting. The Cardinals' defense actually seemed really good, and it kind of kept them in the game. So that was kind of a big shock for this game for me. But I don't know how much I have to say about this game. Neither team showed any flashes for me. Sam Howell was a little bit disappointing. Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson weren't as involved as I wanted them to be. And then for the Cardinals, there wasn't one guy that stood out and like led the team in targets, led the team in rushes. Obviously, James Conner is the workhorse running back, but both defenses played pretty good, especially the Cardinals' D. It's just the Commanders were better in the fourth quarter, and that's why I ultimately think they won this game.
Yeah, Arizona's defense played a lot better, just because I think, Washington, it's their first year with Sam Howell starting. Sam Howell's, trying to get used to, the speed of the league, which he might have already been a little bit used to since he played a bit last year. But yeah, I think Sam Howell is going to get better as the season goes. But the rest of the offense outside of their receivers, I don't, unless like Antonio Gibson, I do like him a lot, and their other running back, what was his name? The one that got shot
Brian
a
Robinson.
couple times.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson. So I do like them, but yeah, I think that they're just going to need time to gel. And I don't know. I just don't think they're going to be one of the best offenses unless, like, Terry McLaurin always is, he's one of those guys that whoever the quarterback is just always going to get a bunch of receptions. And it was weird not seeing him get many looks.
Yeah, as I said in our season prediction, I wouldn't be surprised if Jahan Dotson is like the clear wide receiver one as the season winds down. Not Terry McLaurin's fault, but just the result of him being super good. And then talking about Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, I thought this was going to be a 50-50 split, but this week showed that Brian Robinson is like the clear workhorse RB1. I started Antonio Gibson in fantasy, and he got me like 0.3 points because he did absolutely nothing. And Brian Robinson, I'm pretty sure, had a touchdown. So that was kind of unexpected to me and probably to others as well. Eric Bieniemy, also his debut, good for him to get a win. But yeah, that's all I have for that game. So next one I have was one that was shaping up to be an upset, but then the team came back and ended up winning. The Jaguars went into Indianapolis and took down the Colts 31-21. The number one thing I have to say for this game is Calvin Ridley. I've been preaching it all offseason. Calvin Ridley as my number one breakout, number one underrated guy, and he showed it. Second in receiving yards on the week. He scored a touchdown, and he is already clear wide receiver one. Christian Kirk wasn't as involved. Zay Jones wasn't as involved. Calvin Ridley was the number one receiver by far. Another thing is Travis Etienne is also a workhorse running back. I was expecting Tank Bigsby to get in the game and take some carries from him. He did score a touchdown, but that was kind of fluky because he only had like 2 carries on the game, and one of them ended up in a touchdown. But Travis Etienne is the workhorse running back in this offense, which I think is really good. Trevor Lawrence had a really good game. Although there was that one play where the Colts scored a defensive touchdown where Tank Bigsby screwed up on, where he like thought the play was dead, so he just let the guy punch it out. And then DeForest Buckner was the only person on the field who was aware that the refs didn't blow the whistle, and he took it to the house. But Anthony Richardson, pretty good debut. Obviously, what everyone's talking about after this game, gotta protect yourself. Don't be like Josh Allen, just flinging yourself into defenders. You're not built for that. And I think I saw after the game, Trevor Lawrence just telling Anthony Richardson, you got to get down. You're a really good quarterback. You want to save your years in this. And then obviously we saw that him getting hurt with a minute left in a pointless game. That was a bit of a scare, but he should be fine as he practiced fully today. But pretty good debut for him. He had a rushing touchdown, and he threw a touchdown pass to Michael Pittman. So good to see Michael Pittman involved as well.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw from Anthony Richardson. I think better than expected. You have to be really pleased with that if you're a Colts fan, especially against a pretty good divisional opponent. And yeah, like you were saying with Calvin Ridley, he looks to be like he's going to be the number one option. He was just standing in the back of the end zone, not even running, and just caught it with. And Trevor Lawrence also made a great play, off his back foot, like running from escaping the pocket. So, they look great. I love Travis Etienne. He's been one of my favorites for a while now, since last season. And yeah, he's going to be their number one back for sure. And yeah, I like him on the goal line too. So I don't think they should take him out at the goal line.
Yeah, I agree. Like they did that one time where Bigsby got the touchdown. But I just want to say Calvin Ridley, his route running is amazing as well. I think he's going to solidify himself as one of the best route runners in the league this season. So moving on to one of the last games of the early slate, we had my San Francisco 49ers demolishing the Pittsburgh Steelers 30-7. An absolute statement win for San Francisco. Exactly what was expected from them, from the viewers, from everyone. Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk is looking to be something extremely deadly this season that people need to watch out for. This could be the season where Brandon Ayuk breaks out as the wide receiver one. I personally already had him as the wide receiver one of that offense, as in my opinion, Debo is more of a gadget for us. But Brandon Ayuk owning Patrick Peterson after all the trash talk this week, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, NFC Offensive Player of the Week. It's Brandon Ayuk season. I mean, we're entering top 10 combos this year. Like, he is such a good player, and people are starting to realize it, and I love it. I've been saying since last season he is a top 5 route runner in the league. He cooked Pat Pete on a slant route for his first touchdown, and then Brock Purdy threw a beautiful ball right in his chest for him to just catch it right over Pat Pete. Christian McCaffrey, as we all know, one of the, if not the best running back, in my opinion, the best running back in the league. That 65-yard touchdown run was amazing, involving that insane block from Brandon Ayuk, that pancake, and then Ray McLeod getting down the field and getting that block as well. But Brock Purdy, man, I have to say he's the underrated quarterback. Like, how can you see a guy who's the last pick in the draft look so comfortable in an offense after missing a whole offseason with a really bad injury that forced him to be out like 5-6 months? He comes back and he looks so calm, escaping the pocket, on the run, sneaky athletic, picking up those nitty-gritty first downs, making on the run, setting his feet, making absolute lasers 20 yards down the field. He really looks like a veteran in this league, and he looks like a top 15 quarterback right now. Brock Purdy is one of the most underrated. I saw a lot of people say he's like barely top 25 quarterback going into the year. They had him like above 20 in their rankings, and I just don't agree with that. So he looked really good. Obviously, this defense is just amazing. Just absolutely shut down Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett looked terrible. I feel like that was half the 49ers defense, half him being a little iffy. Obviously, that interception he threw was terrible. He literally just chucked it up on third down to Deontay Johnson, and Mooney Ward just came down with that one. But run game wasn't there. There was just nothing clicking. San Francisco was locking down everything. Nick Bosa didn't even play like half the snaps this game. Drake Jackson had 3 sacks. That's how many he had last season altogether. He could be in for a breakout season. I really like him. Young guy out of USC. I've always liked him. And then Fred Warner also showed why he's one of the best linebackers in the league. He just demolishes the run game. He just gets rid of the run for every single team in the league because he is the best tackler in the league. So, amazing game for San Francisco and a really bad game for Pittsburgh, both on the offensive and defensive side.
Yeah, like you said, Brock Purdy just showed like he did not lose a step, even with like some reports during the preseason. Like, I think the joint practice with the Raiders that he was like just throwing interception after interception. I did think like maybe, he would take a step back, but no, he played great. Ayuk, you've been on that hype train for a minute now. And I think in terms of the Steelers side, I think that they did have like a decent amount of hype going into this season, with like a couple of viral videos of like George Pickens making just crazy catches. I think that maybe they just kind of rode the hype train a little bit too much and, didn't really focus in on their opponent. Because, maybe they didn't expect to win, but at least be like really competitive with the Niners. But no, like the Niners just shut it down. They had their moments every now and then, but I think it was more the Niners just kind of not taking them too serious and just like not going 100% like at the end of the first half when they finally scored. So yeah, I think the Niners are going to keep rolling. The Steelers, I think they'll get a little bit better. I was surprised that because even though like obviously the Niners sacked Kenny Pickett a lot, so I think that they need to force the ball a bit more to George Pickens. And Najee Harris was just not, he was not getting any running space, and their O-line didn't look that great.
Yeah, especially now with Deontay Johnson being ruled out for the next couple of weeks. I think they said 4 weeks is going to miss. Now George Pickens really has to step up. Same thing with Allen Robinson, who I forgot was on the team. I don't know if he even had a reception the whole game. But, yeah, like you were saying, just overall dominance for the 49ers. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think the power rankings after week 1, you have to have the Niners on top. I mean, the Chiefs didn't perform. The Bengals didn't perform. Eagles, although they won, they didn't perform. They almost lost. They almost choked the lead to a Patriots team. And the 49ers, aside from the Cowboys, the only team that came out and made a statement this week. So I really liked from what I saw from them. Obviously, my team, that was a great way because we always lose week 1, so I'm happy that they won that. So last 11 o'clock game I have is the Titans versus the Saints. This one was a bit interesting. The Titans hit 5 field goals. They didn't score a single touchdown. And then for some reason, Derrick Henry was the running back 2 in this game. Tyjae Spears played over 50% of the snaps, got all the receiving work, even took some of Henry's rushing work. I don't know if they're just like bracing for maybe Derrick Henry's going to leave after this season. They're going to trade him. They just want to like extremely decrease his workload because he's getting up there in age. I don't know what, but that really slowed them down. Ryan Tannehill looked mid at best in this game. Obviously, he looked DeAndre Hopkins' way a lot. Over 10 targets, pretty sure he had like 7 receptions on the day. But aside from that, nobody's showing up. Titans just literally couldn't get anything going. They just passed midfield and just couldn't get a 4th down. The only reason they were in this game was because of their kicker, Nick Folk. So just an overall bad game from them. And then the Saints, Derek Carr obviously didn't put up the most points in the game, but I mean, he made it up with that last game-winning drive at the very end there. So obviously he didn't play the worst game ever, and I think he actually played pretty good for the Saints debut, especially with the Saints. Chris Olave didn't really break out as much as people supposed he was going to week 1, because Michael Thomas actually led the team in targets, which some people kind of did expect, because Michael Thomas is a really good receiver amid all the injuries. So hopefully he can stay healthy. And then Rashid Shaheed as well had that game, the long pass that set up the game-winning field goal for them, where I saw like a clip of Derek Carr mentioning just run the go route, and then Rashid Shaheed ran the go route. So that was really good. Run game wasn't up to par with Jamal Williams. I thought he would be a little better. But he was the workhorse running back, and that he's going to continue to be while the Alvin Kamara suspension is going on. Nothing too special from the defense. I think it was just mediocre offenses. This wasn't the most intriguing game at all. Obviously, the Titans, only 1 touchdown scored the whole game. But, I mean, the Saints come out on top, and that's good for them. And the Titans, I don't think they should beat themselves up over it, but they definitely need to hit the film room and everything after not scoring a touchdown during 60 minutes of play.
Yeah, this game was, one of the more low-scoring games of Week 1. I think that the Titans are just, not going to... I don't know, I have a feeling they're not going to go, 110%, because Ryan Tannehill is, ever since they went to the AFC Championship game, every year is just kind of taking a step back. As you mentioned, Derrick Henry didn't have, more than 50% of the snaps. And... DeAndre Hopkins didn't really get too many looks as much as, most people would have thought with, a guy that can win, a lot of 50-50 balls. And on the Saints side, and you said, pretty mediocre offenses. I think the Saints will get a little bit better. Chris Olave has to be a lot more involved because he's so talented. He has so much talent. Derrick Henry, he has a good amount of game-winning drives. I wouldn't say he's known for that, but he definitely has his moments. And and when he went back there, apparently the head coach used to be the offensive coordinator for the Raiders, I'm pretty sure. So that's why they reunited. So I think that this was a pretty likely outcome because it was mainly a defensive game.
Yeah, low scoring, like you said, in one of the more mediocre games of Week 1. So with that being said, let's move on to the 2:00 slate. The first game of that 2:00 slate was, unfortunately, your Denver Broncos, and I guess my also Denver Broncos, losing 16-17. The Raiders beat them by 1 point. The Broncos looked really good in the first half and then just completely crapped the bed in the second half. Really, the defense didn't look as good as a lot of people expected them to be. This Broncos defense has been good for who knows how long. They've always been good, to be honest. And then they let Jimmy G just completely tear up their defense. Jacoby Myers have the best game of his career. So really unfortunate for the Broncos there. I will talk about them first, and I will talk about how I really did like Russell Wilson's game. I think the second half was not on him because I feel like last season, a bunch of the games they lost, you could blame on Russell Wilson not performing in the fourth quarter or something like that. But I don't think it was necessarily him. Although it wouldn't be really good to say anything about Sean Payton this early in the season. I really didn't like his play calls in the second half. I feel like his conservatism kind of lost them the game. They would run the ball 2 straight times on first down and they call a screen pass on third. Obviously, they didn't have all the receiving weapons with Dulcich getting out in the first half and Jerry Jeudy not playing. But still, I mean, I really didn't like that for a coach like Sean Payton, who's a guy known for taking risks, as he did a fucking onside kick on the first play of the season to start the game. But obviously, Russell Wilson, that first drive touchdown, that was really good. He found Lil Jordan Humphrey in the back of the end zone. And then later in the first half, found Cortland Sutton for his touchdown. So good to see him connecting with his receivers. Lil Jordan Humphrey might have a little bit of a role with Jerry Jeudy coming up with some injuries, and obviously the Broncos wide receiver room being cursed. Javonte Williams didn't play that bad of a game. He had some good flashes. I did see a little decrease in speed, which I mean is expected, but he had a pretty good game. The O-line was giving him some holes. And then Samaje Perine too, I feel like was a pretty good receiving back. Blocking wise, I don't really know. I feel like he kind of like let up some sag or like let up some pressures on the blocking end, and I thought he was known for being a blocking back, but had a really good game on the receiving side. For the defense, just terrible performance by the D-line and by Damari Mathis. Damari Mathis is terrible. I mean, he's the cornerback 2 on this offense. You can't be letting a guy like Jacoby Myers get 10 receptions, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'm not even kidding. Like, this is one of those, I don't like to say a lot that, like, one player won a team a game. But this game, Jacoby Myers won the team the game. Like, it was crazy. And then the D-line just played horrible. After that last play where Jimmy G picked up the first down with his feet, the D-line, they sent a full 0 blitz. They rushed like 6, and they didn't get anyone near Jimmy, and he had a free run to the first down. That was just embarrassing. Horrible loss for the Broncos. I don't think it's the end of the season, but really disappointing for Broncos fans who were wanting to see a bit of a difference, and it should have 100% started with a Week 1 win against the Raiders, who now have won 7 straight games against the Broncos. It's getting bad. It's really getting bad. Jimmy G and Josh McDaniels just beat the Sean Payton-led Broncos. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have a lot to say. I'll try to keep it not too long, but obviously it's, one of the worst ways to start off the season, a division opponent who at least you can compete with, and, you have a good chance against winning. I'll start on the offense. I really liked how Russell looked. He was getting out of the pocket, finding open receivers. What he did in Seattle the past couple of years, he looked great. Second half offense was not the best. They put up 3 points, but at the same time, the defense they actually didn't play the worst game, but it was the stupid penalties. Like on the first half, Justin Simmons with an unnecessary roughness, Kareem Jackson concussing what's his name, Jacoby Myers. That because he tackled him, but that would have been a 3 and out. That could have gone the Broncos the ball again, but it just sets up for their game-winning drive. And just a lot of bad penalties. The Broncos, I think, had like over 10, I think, or just about 10. Will Lutz, man, he missed a PAT, a 25-yard kick, and a kick or a 3-point kick. So. And it was like 55 yards, but even then, he is supposed to be like one of the best, even though, yes, last year was his worst year in his career. Damari Mathis just got chewed up, man. And, I had so much faith in him to at least be a good cornerback, too, opposite of Patrick Surtain. I don't know how that's going to work. He turned off his comments on Instagram. I know that's worthless. But that's when it's bad. That's when it's really bad. Yeah. And the defensive line and the linebackers were a joke. You have Frank Clark.
Did Frank Clark even play? I didn't notice he was playing.
He did.
The whole
he
game.
did.
I didn't notice because.
Well, I'm not surprised. He played. Cooper got what's his first name? Cooper. He wears 0. I really like him. Jonathan Cooper. I like him so much. No sacks and Randy Gregory, like what, $84 million contract. He played so well in the beginning of last season and had 0 sacks. We had like maybe 2 pressures, and it was just horrible, man. Like, and like the Raiders O line, it's not that bad. They're not bums. Like, it's a pretty good O line, but man, and we contained Josh Jacobs. Devontae Adams didn't have like any big plays, and like it was so. Man, it's just our defense has to get stops and can't be committing dumb penalties.
Yeah, as you said, that Kareem Jackson hit, that was pretty much game losing, along with that 0 blitz that didn't even touch Jimmy G. And what I forget to mention, like you said, probably only 2 pressures the whole game. Jimmy G had so much time every single time. Both of his touchdowns to Jacoby Myers were in the red zone. He was probably in the pocket for 5 seconds, and that allowed Jacoby Myers to burn Damari Mathis like he has been all game and find him open in the end zone for a touchdown. The run defense was good. They did contain Josh Jacobs. PS2 won his matchup against Devontae Adams, but Damari Mathis, I really don't think he can be the corner 2 on this team. Maybe he can play slot corner when they're in zone, but man to man, if you're getting cooked by Jacoby Myers, I can't trust him against who knows what other wide receiver 2s they go against this season that are better than Jacoby Myers. So really bad for them. They should have won this game. And also on that play where Jimmy G threw the dumb pass that ended up in an interception in the end zone, he was literally 10 seconds like just looking in the end zone, not a single pressure. Like, it's ridiculous. Horrible showing from the defensive line. Hopefully when Baron Browning comes back, that could change, but just really bad for sure. So yeah, hopefully the Broncos can just move on from this one and prepare for the week 2 game against the Commanders.
And 2 more things real quick. Like literally everything, like anything bad from last year was good this year, and everything good was bad this year. So like our defense took a step back. Our O-line played so much better. Max Crosby, yeah, he did have a sack and a couple pressures, but he wasn't a game wrecker like he usually always is.
Yeah.
And you know, this is just like something that I saw from Brandon Perna from That's Good Sports. We literally lost last year to the Seahawks, 16-17, the same score as this year, which is just a bad omen. It's a bad omen.
Yeah, dude. 16 points is the curse for the Broncos. I'm pretty sure like that was their average points last year, and like now they put that up week 1. Just it's bad, bro. Like, and one other thing I want to say, I don't want this to be taken as jumping the gun early, but with Will Lutz having a horrible game, I really already don't know how I feel about Sean Payton pulling an Aaron Rodgers and recruiting his whole Saints buddies to the team. Obviously, Jordan Humphrey had a touchdown. Will Lutz sucks. I don't know. I feel like he's taking his whole entire game plan. This has to be a new team. Not impressed with Sean. Not going to say that Sean Payton's Nathaniel Hackett. Not going to say he's not going to make it past the season. Not saying he's a bad coach, but just saying not a good showing for him week 1, in the second half at least. So next game I have.
And trading Alberto was a bad decision too.
Now we need Alberto.
Because Greg Dulcich is out now.
And Adam Troutman had literally like 5 yards of open space, yet for some reason he decided to like think he's Tyreek Hill and hit a hezzy move and got tackled, which ended up in them punting, giving the ball to the Raiders and let them just wind the clock out and with that Jimmy G scramble. So Adam Troutman also to blame for that bad loss and collapse in the fourth quarter. So. Moving on next, the Eagles and the Patriots. I wanted the Patriots to win this game, and one thing I'm going to say about Mac Jones, I was super impressed. Mac Jones, I had as like a bare minimum top 20 quarterback this year. He looked like a top 10 quarterback this week, and I think he's going to be in some rankings only after week 1. He looked really good. He found Kendrick Bourne for 2 touchdowns. Kendrick Bourne could be emerging as the wide receiver 1 after Juju really did not play good at all. Dropping passes, not getting open ever. I don't know if that's a bad signing for them or what. Hunter Henry seems to be his red zone target. Hunter Henry caught a touchdown for them. And then Ezekiel Elliott was actually like the passing back for them, which is surprising because Ramondre Stevenson is a good receiving back. But Zeke was used more in the passing game than he was in the running game. So the Stevenson-Elliott combo I really liked. The offensive line, obviously, they were missing some of their guys, so it wasn't good at all. But I really liked what I saw from Mac Jones. He was making great reads, throwing great dimes, 20-yard dots, bullet passes. Really good from them. The Eagles played really bad. Dallas Goedert didn't have a single catch. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, really quiet on the day. They only had 1 touchdown the whole game. The rest field goals, so just bad game from them. Jake Elliott had 6 field goals and like carried the team. And then they had that horrible decision by Nick Sirianni that almost cost them the game where they went for it on 4th down when they were up 25-20 with like 2 minutes left. I don't know why he would do that, but he did. And it led the Patriots a chance to go on a game-winning drive, although they couldn't convert. So if I'm a Patriots fan, I'm pretty happy with this Week 1 performance. Obviously, you never want to see a loss. And if I'm an Eagles fan, you don't want to see this after their dominance they had early in the season, starting undefeated after last year. But, I mean, they got the win. They're playing in Philly against Minnesota on Thursday night this week, so we'll see if things change for them.
Yeah, it was really a weird game from the Eagles. I would have thought that they would have dominated this game against not the best Patriots, who are most considered to be last place in the NFC or AFC East. Yeah, I think, as a Patriots fan, you can't be too mad. Mac Jones played pretty well, even though, at the beginning they started out really slow, but they picked it up. And, yeah, I think that the Eagles just got pretty lucky in this one.
Yeah. Okay, next game I have is probably one of the most surprising upsets is the Rams destroying the Seahawks 30-13. Matthew Stafford, no Cooper Kupp. Matthew Stafford looked like himself from the Super Bowl winning season. He was throwing lasers. I think he had probably the most underrated performance of the week that nobody's talking about. Puka Nacua, the fifth round rookie out of BYU, targeted 15 times, 10 receptions for over 100 yards. He seems to be the clear number one while Cooper Kupp is out. Everyone else got involved as well. Cam Akers and Kyron Williams combined to be a really good running back duo. And the defense, surprisingly, although them having like 8 starters who are like rookies or who've never played in the NFL, shut down Geno Smith and the Seahawks. Although that, beside that one touchdown that DK Metcalf had where he was wide open in the end zone, nothing going for either team. Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, DK as well, just nothing going. Geno Smith wasn't accurate. He was getting pressured a lot. Aaron Donald doing his thing, I mean, just a great game from the Rams and by far the most underlooked performance of the week. And I think this is really good for the Rams going into a week 2 showdown against the 49ers. Really good momentum booster for sure, and not good for the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Rams, they look great. Stafford looks like he might be able to play with, without Cooper Kupp if he needs to. He was spreading the ball around a lot. And who knows, maybe the Seahawks last year might have been a little bit like, I wouldn't say lucky, but maybe it was just kind of a fluke. But it's only 1 week. Mm-hmm. I won't overreact either. But yeah, the Rams look like, the Super Bowl Rams, a little with DK, and I think Smith-Njigba is out, or maybe that was like before week 1.
That was before week 1. He played.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I think he just played like one preseason game and then he got injured. But
he played this.
Yeah, I would have expected more. Yeah. And with Tyler Lockett, their defense is Jamal Adams back because he tore his ACL,
I think
right?
So. I think
year.
he might be. I think I didn't hear anything.
But he didn't make noise, even if he was.
No.
Yeah, he just didn't. See, the defense wasn't as good. It's really why they got blown out. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Bad performance from the Seahawks. We'll see if they can bounce back from this one. Next one is possibly the game of the week. Dolphins versus Chargers. Tua Tagovailoa is here. And I am stating that right now. He is here. He will be an MVP candidate this year. That was one of the best performances of his career. He made probably, in my opinion, the best throw of his career. Stepping up in the pocket, on the run, 40-yard dot to Tyreek Hill right in the bucket. To keep the drive going and eventually set up the game-winning touchdown. High-scoring game. Both of these teams played really good. Tyreek Hill, I mean, how can you not say he's ever not a top 3 receiver in the league? He said he's going to go for 2,000 yards. I believe him fully after seeing this performance. Nobody can stop the guy. He's so fast. He's so shifty. He's such a good route runner. He said he put in more time this offseason to perfecting his craft rather than just relying on his speed, and it showed off in this game. So Tua, nobody else got really involved. Jalen Waddle didn't have anything, but they didn't need to because Tua and Tyreek looked like the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the league this game. Not a bad game from the Chargers. A bad defensive performance. J.C. Jackson, as Owen was saying the last episode, is a Belichick system player. He is not good. He had that horrible PI that set up a field goal to start the second half, and he was getting cooked, and I mean cooked, by Tyreek Hill all game long. I don't know if he'll last past this season with the Chargers, nevertheless, around the league as like a cornerback 1. But all I want to say is Tua is here. Tatted Tua is a different breed. As long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be an MVP candidate, and this team's going to win 12-plus games this year. I really, really am impressed with what I saw from Miami this week.
Yeah, Tua, his arm strength got so much better. I remember last year in the offseason, videos of him slightly underthrowing Tyreek and him just catching flack for that. And yeah, they're going to be one of the best duos if he can stay healthy. I think he can be. Their O-line looked a lot better. And, like you said, they didn't really need to include Jalen Waddle. Their defense could have played a little bit better, but it's the Chargers. They have a really explosive offense. Mm-hmm. And the Chargers, man, they looked really bad in that last series, with the chance, I think, to tie the game, I want to say.
Or win the game, because they were down 2.
Did they need a touchdown?
They needed a field goal. They lost by 2, so they just needed a field goal. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, they looked horrible. They were like committing penalties, backing themselves up, and Herbert was just taking sacks. They couldn't get anything going on the offense when it really counted.
So last game of the 2 p.m. slate was the Packers versus the Bears. Jordan Love really blew my mind. I didn't really have high expectations for him, but he showed that he is one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. He played a super good game, finding Romeo Doubs all over the field without having his number one in Christian Watson. Aaron Jones had a spectacular game, and the Packers, they're always going to own the Bears, man. Justin Fields, I'm telling you, the Bears are overrated, man. Justin Fields is overrated. Sure, he had some good rushes. He did not look good as a passer. He could not find DJ Moore. That was partially on Fields, partially on Moore. He only had one touchdown to Darnell Mooney. Just an overall bad game from the Bears, and the Packers proved why they belong in NFC North title discussions and why they're going to finish ahead of the Bears, especially if Jordan Love can keep this up with Christian Watson hopefully coming back this week.
Yeah, I wasn't too surprised with Jordan Love. I've been hearing great things from him or from media that he's been holding his own, and I've been saying this for years, man. Packers Bears is not a rivalry. Stop it. The Packers have owned the Bears for it seems like decades now. I thought the Bears would have put a lot more of a fight. I thought this was going to be a really competitive game, but it doesn't help when Chase Claypool, who says he's a top 3 receiver, shows no effort in running routes or blocking. Apparently, David Moore just did not get any looks at all, or DJ Moore, my bad.
Yeah.
DJ Moore just was not getting the ball, even though they literally traded a lot for him, or not a lot for him. They traded their one pick for him. But yeah, just Justin Fields didn't look the best, and I would have thought that this offense would have gone to new heights because they have DJ Moore as the one, and Darnell Mooney would exceed as a number 2 receiver with not so much pressure around him.
Yeah. And then the Sunday night football game was a stinker. The Cowboys demolished the Giants 40-0. Me personally, I don't have much to say about this game. I tuned out after I watched, but I wasn't paying attention after the first half. The Giants started on that really good opening drive, and then the field goal block returned for a touchdown happened, and it was just all downhill. The Cowboys are not going to go 17-0 because of this game, and the Giants are not going to go 0-17 and be one of the worst teams in the league because of this game. The Cowboys were better all around. This does prove that the Cowboys really have a good defense, really have a strong offense, but specifically their defense, I mean, the defense and the special teams took the Giants out of this game before the offense could even do anything for Dallas. So, and then Giants, their O-line just sucks. Allowed 8 sacks. They were just toying with them at the end of the game. Just horrible game from the Giants that hopefully they can just put aside. I don't have much to say. Cowboys win 40-0.
Yeah, the Giants, I agree. I don't think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I thought this would have been a lot better of a game just because last year they made it the second or third round of the playoffs. So they weren't bummed at all. And really bad for Giants fans. Apparently Darren Waller again is dealing with something that could affect him. He's something's lingering. I don't remember what
hamstring.
But hamstring, yeah. And I think this game also just showed that Daniel Jones did not deserve at all that big contract extension, and it should have gone to Saquon.
Yep.
But Saquon also didn't really get going too much either. And the Cowboys, they were just better than the Giants that night.
Yeah, and Saquon had that fumble too that pretty much put them out of the game as well. I mean, just a horrible night from the Giants. But moving on then to the number 1 story of the week is the Bills versus Jets, where it's so unfortunate and it really is sad. Aaron Rodgers comes into the game, gets 4 plays, and his Achilles ruptures. He tears his Achilles, getting sacked, planting his foot awkwardly. We didn't think it would be that bad at first, but then we saw the replay, we saw the pop, saw him going off on a cart in a boot and everything. Unbelievable, man. Just unbelievable. That is something I couldn't imagine in my wildest dreams happening after all the hype. He got traded in March, and the day after he was attending the hockey games, he was attending the Knicks games, he was doing all of this, and he's been working so hard, Garrett Wilson, to get that second-year leap. He brought in all his guys, Nathaniel Hackett, Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard. Horrible. I could talk forever about this, but I don't want to keep it going, but Devastating. Jets fan, I would be gutted. I see Jets fans like genuinely like in a depressed state right now. Like diehard Jets fans are probably like actually dead right now. What this means is that Zach Wilson is back. They're gonna stick with Zach Wilson throughout the rest of the year. He's gonna be their QB1 the rest of the year. Although like some people are like, no way. I do believe the reports that he is gonna be QB1. Obviously, they're gonna have to bring in another. They're gonna have to bring in another QB to be the backup, or maybe even play some games if Zach Wilson just sucks so bad like he has the past couple years. I don't have full faith in Zach Wilson. I don't predict him to be worse than last season, but I don't expect him to be good. I don't want people to overreact to this really exciting win, despite obviously the terrible news that came out right after the game of Aaron Rodgers. The Jets were better in this game, and I'm so happy for Xavier Gibson having that kick return touchdown. Hard Knock star, the last guy who made the team, undrafted free agent. What a freaking story, man. That was amazing. We need to talk about Josh Allen and his clumsy decision making. The dude chucks the ball downfield and prays he doesn't overthrow the man. Jordan Whitehead picked him off 3 times and he had a fumble. It was horrible. All 3 interceptions were his fault. None of them were excellent plays by Jordan Whitehead. All of them were just bad decisions or bad throws in general by Josh Allen. This man is inconsistent. We need to have the conversation about him being super inconsistent. And he's shown this in the playoffs, in the regular season. The Bills have never had a 1 seed during the Josh Allen tenure because he's inconsistent. They can't win all those games. They can't compete with the Mahomes, with the Burrow. I really don't know. I know it could be an over-exaggeration, but I really don't know if, like, after this game, the Bills are meant to win the Super Bowl this year. And I could easily predict another second-round exit after this year because of this. I mean, obviously the main story is Aaron Rodgers, but we got to talk about Josh Allen just playing terrible. And this cannot go under the radar. People already stopped talking about it. This was really bad for Josh Allen.
Yeah, man. On the Jets side, I think that the hope that the Jets fans should have is that Zach Wilson right now has a decent amount of pieces that Aaron Rodgers has. So, like, for example, he has like older guys in Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard who he can fall back on, and whenever he's down, like, you saw the videos of Alan Lazard and what's his name, the other receiver, Garrett Wilson, comforting him and telling him, like, hey, this is like once we finally went down and actually scored a touchdown, like, you feel that pressure off your shoulders. And I just think that Wilson's going to be like mentored a lot better. Like, Aaron Rodgers isn't like going anywhere. He's not going, to the hospital for 9 months. So I think Robert Saleh is going to instill more faith in him this year. And yeah, I do think that like Zach got kind of lucky, but like the Garrett Wilson catch wasn't necessarily lucky. It was just Wilson making a great effort. And yeah, like what you were talking about with the Bills, Josh Allen, man, like he like overthrew his receivers. Like his first pick to Whitehead was like actually horrible. He just chucked it up.
Literally.
And yeah, like their offense, man, like after the Rodgers injury, I thought it would be like a 31-7 win, but no, they, even with the Jets team with no Aaron Rodgers, they really struggled and ended up just, because they were leading, and then they just end up losing the game, man, on a punt return, which, yes, there was a very questionable tripping, and it happened right in front of the ref, but at the end of the day, it was, the Bills had so many opportunities to put the game away.
Yeah, and I'm going to make the statement right now. The Jets, rest of year, I think they're going to be a top 5 to top 3 defense. That they proved that last night. Their secondary with Jordan Whitehead and Ashton Davis, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, one of the best cornerback duos, and Quinnen Williams is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. One thing I want to mention about the Aaron Rodgers injury, I'm not saying it is his fault he got injured. He cannot control the way he put his foot. No torn Achilles is a person's fault. But one, I hated those cut block plays where Aaron Rodgers wanted to get the ball out quick and Mekhi Becton and Dwayne Brown would just cut block their guys. And 2, it was Aaron Rodgers' fault on the play he got injured that he got pressured. If you watch the replay, on the cut block plays, it is supposed to be a quick one-step drop back and a quick throw. Garrett Wilson ran a slant route, it was there. It was there. There was maybe like a 5% chance that the Bills safety would have came up and either intercepted or forced an incompletion. It was there. Because with Aaron Rodgers, with how fast he can sling the ball, he could have easily gotten there. For some reason, who knows why, he decided not to throw it. That led to the defensive lineman getting off the edge and then just a freak accident happening. Obviously, like that, he couldn't have predicted that. I mean, if it was just a sack, he didn't get hurt, I would say it's all his fault because he could have thrown the pass. But I mean, technically, it would have prevented the injury because he wouldn't have been tackled into the ground or anything like that. So, not to blame anyone. Nobody's to blame for a freak accident like that, except maybe the MetLife Stadium turf, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, they just need to switch to grass, in my opinion, man. But I mean, my prayers go out to Aaron Rodgers, man. I hope this isn't the end of him, bro. I mean, I've never been an Aaron Rodgers hater. I've just appreciated his game. I like, he's been like, I constantly call him like the bad man. He's the baddest man in the league. Like, he is the scariest player in the league. Like he can lead. He's like he can lead you down the field whenever you want. In his prime, the 2010s, early to mid 2010s, just an absolute monster. I do personally believe he is going to be back next season. He won't be as mobile at all, even like escaping the pocket, even stepping up in the pocket. But you can't get rid of that arm, man. No torn Achilles can get rid of that arm. I do think he'll play one more year because there's no way he can go out this sad. But it's so bad for Jets fans. I really feel bad, man.
I don't know. I think he like could come back, but it would take more than a year, in my opinion, because yes, he's gonna be what, like 41, maybe 42 by the time he comes back.
40. He turns
40.
December.
Yeah, because he's 39. Yeah. But like, some might say, well, like Tom was, a lot older, but Tom never, he never tore his Achilles. He never tore his ACL like at the ending of his career. So I really doubt that Aaron will come back and be like really good, but like you said, if he can just be a good pocket passer and, not be able to run around as much, it won't be the end of the world for Jets fans.
Yeah,
just that they got to stick it out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, in football, the torn Achilles is really only 6 to 9 months. We saw last season Cam Akers tear his Achilles in the summer and be back by the couple last weeks of the season. Like I was saying earlier, I do believe he's not going to be nearly as mobile, and he is going to have to be a good pocket passer, but he has been his whole career. He has an arm. He can make really good reads. I think he will play one more, although it wouldn't completely surprise me if he does end up going out here. Unfortunate for Garrett Wilson, too. I predicted a year 2 leap. I don't know if I predict that anymore with Zach Wilson. He played better with Joe Flacco and Mike White as his QBs last season rather than Wilson. I hope Zach Wilson can do good. I kind of wasn't rooting for the Jets with all the hype now, but now I am because now they're kind of an underdog team, and I just really feel bad. Like, nobody can predict, like, 4 plays in the most hyped up quarterback acquisition in a while, like the one of the best quarterbacks ever of our generation going to a new team for the first time in his 20-year career, and it's all over in 4 plays. Like, it's unbelievable. I did not expect that to happen, but yeah, that's all I got for that situation.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that'll wrap up our week 1 recap. We'll be getting out our week 2 predictions later in the week, probably before the games. So yeah, that'll do it. Thank you guys all so much for watching. The 11th episode. We're getting up there in episode numbers. We're pumping out the pods, hopefully more often now that the NFL season's in full force. But an exciting week 1, and we're excited for week 2, starting with Vikings Eagles on Thursday Night Football. So that'll be it from us. Dave, you got anything to say before you head out?
No. Thanks for watching.
All right, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.